You're judging us. You patronize us. You tell us what we should be and should not be doing. Please, shut the hell up.
From pillar to post and coast to coast, this is Live Audio Wrestling.
Live Audio Wrestling.
Just like 20 years ago.
Your number one source for pro wrestling and mixed martial arts news, interviews, and opinion.
Don't you dare miss it.
With Dan the Mouth Lovranski.
And those pencil neck geeks out there don't know what's going on.
Jason Agnew.
When my hand goes up, your mouth goes shut.
And John Pollock.
I know how to play the game better than anyone else.
This is The Law on TSN Radio.
So let's get started, shall we?
Raw invades SmackDown Live for no reason. A UFC fighter cuts the best wrestling promo of the week, and next week is Bound for Glory. Will you be watching? Welcome to The Law. It's Live Audio Wrestling, powered by the Fight Network and coming at you live across Canada on the TSN Radio Network and all over the world at liveaudiowrestling.com. My name is Jason Agnew with Dan the Mouth Lovranski. And Mouth, I've got a plan, okay?
Okay.
So tomorrow night, you and I put on blue Law shirts, and we just go beat up John and Way when they do review Raw. That apparently is what makes sense in the world of professional wrestling now.
You know, it is confusing. It does get confusing, but that's why we're here, Jay. We're going to sit down. We're going to sort it all out, try to make some sense out of it. And, hey, on top of that, something I'm very excited about. I mean, we've been doing this show for 20 years, and there's almost no guest we haven't had on the show before. But this week, we got someone we've never had before. I'm so excited. George Gray. Now, does that name not mean anything to you? Well, perhaps the name The One Man Gang or Akeem the African Dream means something. That's right. I had a chance to sit down with this 80s star. We chatted about his time in the WWF, working as the Gang and Akeem, working with Slick, and lots more, so you don't want to miss that here tonight. Also, we'll have our weekly chat with Dave Meltzer during Wrestling Observer Extra. We'll answer your questions on the Law message board and give you a chance to win a cool wrestling t-shirt of your choice from our friends at barbershopwindow.com during tonight's edition of Title Bout Trivia. And of course, it may be late, but we still want to hear from you. What did you think of the Raw versus SmackDown invasion this week? Are you excited by champion versus champion at Survivor Series? And what the hell are they doing with Finn Balor? Inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah, Mouth is already upset about that. So what do you guys think? 1-855-591-6876. No pay-per-view tonight, so we're just taking your calls about all of what Mouth just said. It's 1-855-591-6876. At Law Radio is where you can send your tweets. I am on that tonight. And lawradio.proboards.com for the feedback section, which we will do at the end of tonight's show, even though we didn't do it last week. But first things first, we've mentioned it already in the intro, and now let's talk about that invasion.
At Survivor Series, I want you to bring your gold medal, what's left of your Raw roster, and we're all going to finish what we started. Oh, it's true. It's damn true.
And that was the big, and I will give it to them, it was a big angle on Monday night. Now, where did it come from? That I still really don't know. But they're doing this. It's the invasion. And first, before we get into all of this, Mouth, may I just say to you, it is just amazing and coincidental how the Bullet Club invaded Raw a couple weeks ago. It's like they knew it was coming.
Yeah, it's exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's pretty funny. We're going to get all mad and upset about this. Then we'll take the idea.
Yeah, I guess that's why Vince McMahon was. I don't think. No, what are you talking about? We'll take the idea. It was clearly planned out and leaked.
It would be.
That's why Vince McMahon was so angry.
No. Well, what? And
Jimmy Jacobs leaked it.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
I would think so.
Maybe.
They've had this plan for a long time.
That could
SmackDown and Raw. This is we kept on talking about, like, why is Vince McMahon so angry? Why is he so angry about this parody that took place? Well, clearly this is a leak.
Well, that could be. If that's exactly what happened, then no wonder he's upset. Exactly.
Furious.
And that does give you more of a legitimate reason to fire the guy.
Yes.
Yeah, like 100%. More than just having your selfie with your friends. If that's true, Jay, then I can understand why Vince let him go.
For
Absolutely.
sure.
Yeah.
And that's what he wanted. So we had Jimmy Jacobs on the show last week. If you didn't get the chance to hear it, it is available at liveaudiowrestling.com.
It certainly wasn't something that he hinted at in the interview at all.
No, he did not. However, very coincidental. Now, so we had the blue team invade the red team because, that makes everyone look really special when you throw them in T-shirts.
You know what? That part doesn't bother me because that shows the solidarity. The part that bothers me is that it's the ham and eggers that we see doing the invasion pretty well.
Nakamura?
Whereas at this point, he is a ham and egger.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is. Where are the top guys like Orton and all these guys that should be in the top? The guys that are part of this big invasion that aren't involved in the other angles.
That's the least of the problems with this angle. The New Day was leading the charge, like they're prominent players on Raw. I mean, on SmackDown.
I don't know. I didn't see it that way. Most of the prominent players are already tied up in other matches. So to me, it just kind of looks like it makes it look weak because there's none of the top guys were involved in the invasion thing.
I just feel as though the execution of the angle I didn't have a problem with, but the suspension of disbelief used in this angle is overwhelming. Like you have to use so much of it in this angle. There's no stakes. There's only questions that evolve from what happened on Monday.
No, I think they know. I think they know enough not to do stakes because if that means they got to pay off in the end, and half the time when they do that, it never works out, or they forget about it after 2 weeks anyways. This is just an idea for a pay-per-view. That's it.
Well, exactly. I mean, what are they invading for? Like, what are the stakes
to increase the ratings? The ratings went up, Jay.
The ratings went up. So that was the reason SmackDown is invading to increase Raw's ratings?
No, it wasn't Raw's ratings that went up. SmackDown's ratings went up after what happened on Raw.
Oh, okay. So, great. So, I'm just also wondering why these guys are so loyal to a brand that they may not be a part of at the next Superstar shakeup.
Well, you're just putting way too much thought into it.
Why is the Lone Wolf aggressively working with the other guys as a team?
Well, but
he's a lone wolf.
But that you're just analyzing it way too much.
Why?
Yeah,
do the baby faces and heels all of a sudden get along?
But they don't.
Why are Rude and Dolph standing at ringside?
Okay, these are questions that every time they've done the invasion have come up, and they've never been answered, and they won't be answered.
Well, I feel as though that's a bit of an issue. These are the issues that I have with this particular invasion.
I mean, the thing to me is that I agree. I think there should have been something should have happened to trigger SmackDown to want to actually show up en masse and go after the Raw guys rather than just go, okay, we're going to have brand versus brand matches as a theme for this pay-per-view. But you're right. There was no fuse that lit the bomb or anything like that.
No, there was the lending of AJ Styles due to the situation that they have with talent right now with all the sickness that's going around. And all of a sudden he's there and then he sticks around another day. That was odd.
Yeah, very odd.
And then Shane shows up and then he decides to bring everyone in and attack. To me, it just didn't make sense. The execution of running through everyone, I mean, looking at it, back in the day, I mean, it didn't have that magic of, when Paul Heyman was in the ring that one night and all of a sudden all the ECW guys, you realized they were all ECW guys, they turned around. That was magic. That's an angle that just gives you the chills.
Well, it wasn't something like Nexus where you just...
Nexus was incredible.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I was thinking about this week when I watched it, right? I was thinking, well, it certainly didn't have the impact that the Nexus angle had. Although, but there's a prime example of an invasion angle and what eventually happened. Where are any of those guys from Nexus now?
What Daniel Bryan's?
That's the only one. Where's Wade Barrett? Gone. Ryback? Gone.
Yeah.
Who else was in there? That was
Michael something who covered his face. I can't remember.
You can't even remember the guys' names. That's how successful that is.
No, wait a minute. Was he Slater in there?
I think Slater was in there, yes.
Wasn't Husky Harris in there as well?
Boy, wow. Look at how far.
He's around.
Yeah, not as Husky Harris, though.
Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, but he's not
He's
Husky
doing a
Harris.
great job. He's
Is
not
he?
around right
Is
now.
he doing a great job? You'd pick on him every week.
No, he's not doing a great job. That's part of the point. Anyway.
Okay.
So coming out of this, obviously this frames up the main event.
Perhaps, we've got a whole month until Survivor Series. Perhaps some sort of stakes are going to be raised over the next couple of weeks or something. I don't know, but to me, if they do that, they'll just end up forgetting about it anyways.
Well, do you believe that Angle and Shane will be in the ring captaining their teams on at the pay-per-view?
I could very well see that happening, yes.
Well, we talked about last week that Angle was cleared very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
He was already medically cleared to wrestle.
That they could just throw him in at the last minute, yep.
So I do think that his return was planned. So
was this what it was planned for?
Yes, that's my thought.
Well, it certainly looks that way, and I'm curious to what they're doing with Daniel Bryan and Shane, because they're obviously teasing some sort of tension there, right?
So we're looking at who would be your Team Raw and who would be your Team SmackDown? Because I want to throw this out to the listeners tonight. So who would you put on Team Raw? It's 5 guys aside, because we've seen that the women are 5 aside.
Yeah, I have a couple questions about guys, though, that are going to be, like, is Joe going to be back in time for this?
Well, will you just put your best foot forward? I asked you to frame up your
Yes,
teams.
you did. Looking from what I have, this is what I have.
Okay.
I have Sheamus, Cesaro.
Yep.
Kane, unfortunately.
He's busy.
With Strowman?
Yeah. Anyway, okay, you're going to put Kane on the team. All right.
Is Reigns going to be back?
Well, it could be.
I would think that if he's back, he's on the team. Sheamus, Cesaro, Kane, Reigns, and then the 5th guy. I would put Joe.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I have the exact same team as you. Angle, Reigns, Joe, Cesaro, Sheamus.
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
Okay. Team SmackDown?
This one's a little tougher. I guess, Shane, I guess.
Yep.
And,
cool.
I would put Orton in there.
Well, he's already qualified, so that would make
that's
he's
right.
already
That's
there.
right. You're right. You put Owens and Zayn in there?
Well, I would not. I had Orton and Nakamura. Because either Orton or Nakamura, one of them's already qualified, and then I had the New Day in there because they led the charge.
Right.
They ran around, led the charge. And if you're only going to do 2 of them instead of 3 of them, then maybe Rude can go on. But actually, no, it's Shane, Orton, Nakamura, and then 2 of the New Day. That would be my team SmackDown right there.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Rude has performed enough and performed well enough to be at the top there.
Yeah, I think Orton, AJ, New Day, Shane. Yeah, you got to consider the Shane Angle thing because that really does look like they're leading in that direction.
Oh, AJ. I didn't have AJ there, but yeah, AJ.
I would think AJ. Team. He's not involved in any of the other matches.
Maybe the New Day's not there. Maybe it's Shane, Orton, Nakamura, AJ, and Rude.
Yeah, I was thinking they might put Rude in for the rub, maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
What do you guys think? That's the question we're throwing out to you. It's Team Raw and Team SmackDown. Whether you like it or not, it's a brand versus brand pay-per-view to interrupt every other program that is going on right now until Survivor Series. 1-855-591-6876. Going to take a break and then going to come back and take your phone calls. A few of you are already on the line. We'll get to you when we return. It is The Law, live audio wrestling.
The Law.
I have a microphone, and I can be louder than each and every one of you.
On TSN Radio.
And going for a third choke slam.
It's a different Kane. This is a different big red machine, guys.
This is a message. This is a sadistic monster. Is what this is. A third choke slam. And finally.
That's it. Bring it back. And there you have it. Kane. Kane.
Shut up, Booker.
Yeah, Booker's really bad.
He is getting, just terrible.
Yep.
This is a different Kane. What's different?
Okay, Booker's bad.
Sorry. Just
Kane.
That clip there just made me...
You seem to not enjoy this angle that happened on Monday. Tell us why.
With Kane and Finn Balor?
Yeah, you seem
it's
to...
terrible, Jay. Come on.
Like
I just thought we were getting to rehab the guy a bit with his win over AJ at the pay-per-view.
Oh, he didn't beat AJ. The Demon beat AJ.
As I said,
different.
I thought... as I said, I thought, not in the fans' eyes, it's not. It's still the same guy. And now here we go. Kane needs someone that he can destroy in 2 minutes. Why do you send out Finn Balor? Why? Even if the idea down the line is for him to basically fight Brock, why do you put him out there with the big guy and then the big guy squashes him within seconds? It could have been anybody else on the roster. It was essentially a jobber match. I don't know why you had to put Finn out there. I couldn't believe it.
Maybe they're just dropping some breadcrumbs here. All right?
And
but here's what's going to happen.
We are getting the Demon versus Kane.
Because Kane, there's Demon Kane.
Yes.
And it's the Demon King. So first.
So Booker will be right. This is a different Kane.
No. It's the same Kane.
Terrible.
But it'll be a different Balor. Because what we got, we're going to have Kane and we're going to have Braun. And Braun's going to beat Kane.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Demon King challenges the Demon Kane. And then he gets his win back. What do you think?
Terrible.
Yeah? Huh? No?
I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't think they're thinking that far in advance. I really just think they wanted someone to beat Kane to beat, and they sent out Finn. I don't think you're thinking. I think a lot better than they are, Jay. I don't think they're thinking that far ahead.
Going to the phones. If you'd like to get in on it, we're live, and you can be too. 1-855-591-6876. Paul is in New Jersey. Hello, Paul.
Evening, guys. Yeah, I think the Nexus guy you were talking about was Michael Tarver.
That's
but
it.
Don't feel bad because I think Vince McMahon once called him Titus O'Neil in a meeting. So. But two quick questions. So I was watching an old Survivor Series the other day, and it looks like Bobby Heenan said something along the lines of, like, the winning team gets double the money. Could they work something in with, like, money stakes? Like, that's something we can all kind of understand.
You know what? When I was a kid, they used to do that all the time. When there was a battle royal, it was for, like, they would make up outrageous amounts. It's like, the winner gets $100,000 in a Cadillac. That's what I remember when I was a little kid. There'd always be money and a Cadillac if you won the battle royal. But they haven't done anything money-oriented angle-wise in, like, the longest time.
Except in the bank.
Yeah, because, I mean, it feels like that's at least something we can all understand and grasp. But my other question was, my favorite female wrestler on the main roster was Emma.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, I guess politics really are alive and well in any business, but especially this one, because I still can't figure out how a person like Emma gets cut, which wasn't surprising, but Alicia Fox is still just gainfully employed for over a decade.
It's so true.
Well,
it's so true.
Obviously, they made some mistakes with Emma. I was very surprised at that release. For those of you that haven't heard, WWE released Emma this morning along with that Darren Young and Summer Rae. No surprise on the latter two.
No.
But considering the emphasis that did seem to be put on Emma recently, to me it was a surprise. And I mean, I do think there's value in her. I didn't think her angle with Asuka was well done.
No, it wasn't.
On Monday night, the repeat, except shorter, again, was terrible. And let me ask you something. I mean, if management knows this is coming with Emma, if they know, then why was she not just jobbed out twice in a row? There's no need to protect her.
It's very true.
Right?
It doesn't make a lot of sense, Jay, which leads me to believe it wasn't. It was maybe a last minute thing, because I agree. Why would you even bother going this far? I think it's because I think what happened is after they tried to do that rebrand of her, and we saw those vignettes for months and months and months, and the story we heard is that Emma couldn't seem to grasp the character they wanted her to play in the vignettes, so they just got frustrated and went back to what she was doing. I think once that happened, I think the writing was on the wall.
Yeah, and I'm actually very surprised at that. If you follow Emma on Instagram, you do see what they saw in regards to playing that Sable-style character in the way that she portrays herself on Instagram with her shots. I guess it just didn't translate out of her mouth as well, and she couldn't pull off the promos.
Yeah, there obviously something happened, and I think putting all that work into it and then just dropping it like that, that's not gonna sit well with everybody else.
It's okay. There's some other Aussies that are on their way, and they are fantastic. Back to the phones we go. Let's chat with Rob from New Jersey. Hi, Rob. Welcome to the show.
I never thought I'd be complaining on my birthday, but here we go. So long story short, number one, Booker T needs to go. I'm tired of three-man commentary teams. They just don't mean anything anymore.
Especially,
or they never meant everything.
Well, especially when 2 out of the 3 are on both brands. That's another issue with the Invasion angle, is that your commentary teams aren't separate, so they can't root for a particular side.
Let alone a heel or a baby face, depending on the brand. But that's another story. The second thing is, with the whole creative team, how can you come up with a concept with Kane and Finn Balor, as an example, had no build, had nothing to do, just because they had a deeming gimmick, and let alone you can't still tie up loose ends with other storylines. Hence why Hollywood writers apparently can't translate with sports entertainment and wrestling in general. I digress. But the third and main thing is, the 3 individuals that are leaving the company. Like it's Darren Young, Emma, and
Summer Rae.
Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, this is why I'm literally sick and tired of the creative team, because it's like, if you have nothing for these people, let alone allow them to be themselves, at least have some parameters, there's always going to be that glass ceiling. And when Vince always says that this is the land of opportunity, no pun intended, but it's like, how can it be an opportunity if you can only do so much with only how much you want to push your talent, depending on which talent it is? And they're all of a sudden, now they have nothing for these guys, and now all of a sudden they're going to leave. Well, hopefully they do great on the indies, but, I mean, that's, and maybe Emma at some point can come back at least her, but,
I think with these 3 in particular, it's not so much that the creative didn't have anything for them, is that they all seem to fail with what they were given by creative. Like the Darren Young stuff never really worked out, whether he was with Bob Backlund or Titus O'Neil and that kind of stuff. And the Emma thing didn't work out. And the Summer Rae, just whatever they gave her didn't really work out either. So I think it's more that I think Vince goes, well, we can't seem to get these guys to do anything. Let's get rid of them,
Well, it has been a while since we've seen roster cuts in the WWE, and occasionally they do just make a few cuts. And if these didn't factor into their plans, I mean, when's the last time we saw Darren Young or Summer Rae? It's been a very long time.
A year, I think.
Darren Young was injured for a while.
Yeah. So was Summer Rae.
Yes.
They both were.
So I do feel that they've let them rehab on their dime and then said, creative has nothing for you.
Yeah.
Good luck in your future endeavors. We'll be back, continue to chat about this week in the world of wrestling. 1-855-591-6876 if you want to get in. It's The Law, live audio wrestling.
This is Ian Riccaboni reminding you to catch Ring of Honor Wrestling each and every week on Fight Network. Catch all of your favorites, including the villain, Marty Scurll, the Briscoes, Christopher Daniels, and the Young Bucks. Every week, every match, every episode, we are creating excellence. It's Ring of Honor Wrestling each and every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern on Fight Network.
You're listening to The Law on TSN Radio.
We don't think of Jinder Mahal, a consolation prize champion offered to SmackDown Live when Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan realized they got the shaft in the Superstar shakeup. The brand that brags Brock Lesnar is the flagship brand with the #1 champion, the place to be in World Wrestling Entertainment. That's undisputed. And because Jinder Mahal disputes that fact, Jinder Mahal, at Survivor Series, you're going to Suplex City.
Yeah. That is one of the matches that we have to look forward to. All inter-brand matchups at Survivor Series, at least the ones announced. And they do have 6 matches announced at this point.
Yep.
So Brock Lesnar versus Jinder Mahal. Interesting take there, because normally, when Paul talked about the fact that he would praise Brock's other opponents, but this one he just crapped on.
Consolation prize champion. Loved it.
Well, you loved it, but in actuality, it's
not good. No, right? You're right. I love it because I agree with him in reality, but in terms of the angle, you're right. It was not exactly the right thing to say. Maybe that's the motivation for the invasion, Jay. because they're mad that they called their SmackDown's champion a consolation prize champion.
Well, I think it might have already been planned before them, but I'm not 100% sure. Also, Brock wouldn't be involved in that particular elimination match. But here's what the rumor is for the Brock Lesnar and Jinder Mahal match. Guest referee, names thrown out there, John Cena, The Rock, and Stone Cold Steve Austin are the rumor. We'll talk to Meltzer more about this, but out of those three, I don't see the purpose in The Rock or Steve Austin. I see the purpose for the allure of having people tune in.
Well, the thing with Cena is that he goes for both brands.
Yes.
So that's why that's your allure there. Is he going to be is he going to be partial when he's on both brands?
And along with that, you look down the line, and Cena and Jinder should be the one to dethrone Jinder.
Right.
That belt.
Someone has to
bring prestige.
Yes.
To that belt once again. I feel as though there's a natural program there, so my pick would actually be John Cena. I
could see them going with someone like Austin. I don't think Rock. I don't know if Rock would come back for a ref spot, but I could see Austin coming back for that.
John is on the line from Oshawa. Hi, John.
Hello, guys. How are you?
Good.
I'd like to talk about this invasion angle.
That's good, because that's what we're talking about.
Now, you know how Raw is 3 hours. Are they going to make that's one of my questions, SmackDown 3 hours? Because how are you going to fit the common sense in invasion? Are they because all the SmackDown guys going to stand on every exit?
I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about 3 and 2 hours. It doesn't make any difference, and they'll get in somehow. They don't need to justify it. I mean, they
didn't justify the invasion to begin with.
You know what would have been cool in this particular scenario, John, is if Michael Cole hadn't gone back and forth, right, and it was just Tom Phillips still there with Corey Graves, and it was Corey Graves that let the Raw guys in. And it turns out he was a mole. And then they ended up replacing him with Nigel after that, and the SmackDown guys beat the crap out of Corey because they figure out that he was the mole letting the Raw guys in.
I like it because it gets Nigel to the commentary table.
I like your idea, but I have one more thing I want to say.
All right.
About the Survivor guys versus guys, team.
Yep.
Roman Reigns hasn't been on television. Is that a legit thing, or is it storyline-wise?
No, he's
sick.
Yeah, he's got the mumps.
Oh, really? Oh,
yep, we talked about that last week. He's got the mumps, and then Bray and Bo have a viral infection.
That's all they'll say.
Which
they won't
strong
say.
rumor there is meningitis, viral meningitis. Back to the phones we go. Kale's in Toronto. Hi, Kale.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call, and thanks for pointing out about the veggies of life last week.
All right, no problem.
The veggies of yes.
Yeah. You have a question, Cal?
Yeah, I prefer the Rock for the ref and the champion. Inter-champion match.
You prefer the inter-champion matches, is what you're saying?
To be ref by The Rock.
Oh, he wants one of the championship matches to be ref by The Rock.
One of the championship matches to be ref by The Rock. As in the 5-on-5 as opposed to... I don't know. I don't necessarily know if The Rock coming back... I mean, it could happen. It'll draw attention. It always does. But furthering storyline, as we were just saying, that there's really...
I like the idea of Cena being the one in that match, just because he works for Raw and SmackDown, so you don't know which side he's going to go with.
I think that there's a large challenge on this particular show coming up because the Intercontinental Champion versus the United States Champion, it's The Miz and Baron Corbin. Who do you cheer for? Right?
Yeah.
There's no one to cheer for there.
No, they're both heels.
I mean, Miz is an excellent heel, and then Baron Corbin is Baron Corbin.
Yeah.
That's awful. Mm-hmm. Along with that, you actually have two heels for the women as well. Mm-hmm. Alexa Bliss versus Natalya.
Yep.
I was actually kind of surprised. And granted, it could still happen if Natalya drops that title to Charlotte, because that's an interesting match. Alexa and Charlotte. Mm-hmm. Alexa cuts promos on Charlotte all the time.
Yes. Yes.
When she went over, she's like, "Oh, you replaced the queen with the goddess."
Yeah.
That's a very interesting match if that were to happen.
I mean, again, they've got a whole month, right? So they could easily have something happen on the TV to get the belt off her.
And then maybe get the belt off Miz or Baron Corbin, one of the two, and get a babyface on one of the two sides.
Well, yeah.
Because that match is going to die.
Yeah, it's not going to do well. I agree. It's not
along with that, you have Team Raw female, which is Alicia Fox. Did you like what they did with Alicia Fox?
I don't like anything they ever do with Alicia Fox.
Honestly, I liked what they did.
Did you?
I did. The reason being, it gives them an out and a reason for Raw to lose that match.
Mm-hmm.
You have two reasons now. You have the conflict that will happen between Bayley and Sasha.
Yes.
And
hopefully they use this match to further that.
Yes.
They should.
Well, you already saw it a little bit of it happen on Raw. Mm-hmm. And then you have the pure insanity of Alicia Fox.
Right. And she just ends up getting them screwed and loses the match further.
Yeah, clearly Women's SmackDown will be winning that. So to me, it actually did make sense, so I didn't mind that. Back to the phones we go, and we have Andrew on the line. Hi, Andrew.
Gentlemen, how's it going?
Good.
Good. Two things.
Yes.
I would definitely cancel the Miz and Corbin match and put Miz on Team Raw. I think that would be a great thing for Raw.
Okay.
And do you know when Jeff Hardy is coming back?
Not for a while.
It's going to be a while. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be around for a bit.
Samoa Joe is teasing on Twitter that he's going to be back very soon. I could actually see that happening tomorrow. But Jeff Hardy is a while away. I do see Samoa Joe factoring into this pay-per-view. Hardy, no. Like months and months and months.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sorry, I just thought of one more quick thing before I go. You know how I'm a huge Triple H fan?
Yes, we remember.
Yes, I thought maybe you'd be flying down to Chile to see that match.
He's on the European tour now.
Yeah, you're going to go to Europe now.
Oh, damn, I guess I have to go. Yeah, I got to find my ticket tomorrow. What do you guys think about him being on Team Raw to add more buys and more views and add hype to that match, the gentleman's match?
Well, listen, if Roman Reigns is not available, I could actually very well see that happening because it also plays out. It's Shane and Triple H playing out where we kind of thought it would be Kevin Owens and Triple H down the line. So I don't know. It depends if they do want to further that Shane Triple H thing.
I don't know. I think they would probably keep him out of this. I think they're just putting him on the European tour and that just because guys like Reigns are out. I don't know if they would actually put him in the Survivor Series match.
Would he put himself into it, right? Like, wouldn't he want the solo spotlight?
He wouldn't want to be on a team.
Wouldn't want to be in a team.
Right. Unless he's the captain.
Team Triple H is what he's on.
He'd have to be the captain. That's a one-person team.
Hansi's in Toronto. Hi, Hansi.
Yo, what's going on? I just want to say I'm kind of agreeing with you with the invasion. I don't know. It just felt kind of a little forced, whatever. But I don't know. I did like how how they execution it.
Yep.
But my question was if there was such a rivalry going on, right? Why didn't the SmackDown guys go on 205 Live and attack those guys? Because aren't those guys a part of Raw or something like that? Like, that's kind of the one thing that didn't make sense. And my question, I think you guys kind of alluded to it already about the title situation. I was going to ask if you guys thought they might change some of the titles around, but even though we're not looking forward to Miz versus Corbin, I gotta say, if you guys go on social media and look at Miz's promo they cut on Corbin today, it's probably like a really, 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 really good promo. It made me a little excited for the match, even though I don't really want to see heel versus heel and all the matches and all that.
Right.
Yeah. Listen, when Miz cuts a promo, Miz is excellent.
He's gotten very
talker.
good. Yeah, very good.
He's he had a great period years ago, and then he had a flat line, and then when Maurice was added to his act, he was great again.
Well, Sandow, we had that great period with Sandow.
Oh, yes, that was good, too. So, I mean, there was numerous periods where Miz has done very, very well.
But he's really come into his own, I would say, the last couple of years. He's just really, really turned into a top talent.
But he's so antagonistic to the crowd. He's someone that you love to hate. And Corbin is someone that you hate to hate.
He's got the X-Pac heat.
The X-Pac heat. It's been a while since we heard that term.
It's true. I instantly want to turn the channel when I see him. I have no desire to watch his matches, listen to his promos, nothing.
Before we go to break
here,
I want to ask you a question about hashtags, okay?
Okay.
So on Monday night, of course, we had the hashtag that Shane McMahon put out there. Hashtag
Under Siege. Yes, Under Siege.
So
yes.
you were asking me during the break, do you think that Raw is now going to go invade SmackDown? And I said yes. Of course they are. What do you think the hashtag should be? I want to throw out some for you.
Okay,
How about this?
okay.
Hashtag on deadly ground. Hashtag above the law. Hashtag Black Dawn.
Black Dawn, yeah.
Black Dawn. Hashtag mark for death.
Yep.
Hashtag exit wounds.
Hashtag
out for a kill. Hashtag submerged. Hashtag attack force. Hashtag the path beyond thought. Or some of the justice hashtags. Hashtag out for justice. Mercenary for justice, or urban justice.
Yeah, no, they would all fit.
I just want more Steven Seagal.
Yeah, I do. You just want them all to be based around Steven Seagal. There you go.
From here on in.
There you go.
Hashtag kill switch.
I can put a couple Chuck Norris in there.
Hashtag driven to kill. Just saying. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit of an event that's happening next week. It's called Bound for Glory.
Have you heard of it?
It's the WrestleMania for Impact. I've been waiting on one caller who's on the line from San Antonio.
Oh, is he? Ian?
Yeah, he's there.
Okay, Ian.
He's there.
All right.
We'll talk to him in the next block, and we'll actually preview what's happening next week in case you don't know about it. Because if you watch this week, you might not. It's the law.
Really?
Live audio wrestling.
Hey, this is Josh Matthews reminding you to catch Impact Wrestling each and every week on the Fight Network and Game TV across Canada. Watch all your favorite stars, including Lashley, James Storm, and EC3. Fight Network also brings you Explosion every week, along with classic events from the Impact Vault.
Olympic Slam! Olympic Slam! By Eddie the White Samoa Joe!
It's Impact Wrestling each and every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Fight Network and Game TV across Canada.
Hi, it's John Pollock letting you know that each and every Thursday, make your way over to liveaudiowrestling.com to download the MMA Report with yours truly, as I will take you through the entire landscape of the sport. What is happening in the UFC? Who has Bellator just signed? And what are the major fights coming up with some of the biggest names in the sport joining me each week? It's the MMA Report with John Pollock. Go to liveaudiowrestling.com or subscribe to the MMA Report with John Pollock on iTunes.
You're listening to The Law.
This is my yard now.
On TSN Radio.
Our laser gonna cut you down.
Since all you want to get in our business, let's make this a little bit interesting. Stephen Bonner's used to a steel cage. Boy Bobby is used to a steel cage. And we all know I'm one crazy son of a. So how about we make that tag match at Bound for Glory? 6 sides of steel.
Moose. 6 sides of steel in that match. Along with that, we get a 51-50 street fight. We get a 3-way match for the Impact Knockouts Championship. We get a Monsters Ball match. We get a Red Wedding match. All of that.
The hell is a Red Wedding match?
I'm not sure about that.
They have made no mention of that I know of on the TV.
Another show mouth. And a whole other show on this week.
Which they can show matches from other countries that have nothing to do with the pay-per-view that's not coming weekend.
Listen, I got on last week about that, and this week
you know what?
And a huge example.
Last week I thought you were exaggerating slightly. This week you were not exaggerating. This week was incredibly, like, I kept waiting for Ed Whalen to show up. It was so much like the old Pro Wrestling Plus show. It was it was like, I thought they really lost focus on most of what's going on in the pay-per-view and just, okay, we're going to show you a match from Mexico, AAA. Okay, here's one from Border City Wrestling. Okay, here's one from Noah in Japan. I just thought...
It's awful.
You know?
It's awful.
It's not the approach.
I do not like it at all.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the approach that's going to help. That's for sure.
They do. I mean, they're pushing forth because it's funny when in that respect when they were putting that together, they were thinking, well, we're global force, we're global. I mean, they have the Global Wrestling Network, so they're very global.
Yeah.
So that shows off how global they are. But to me, the show, the organization does not have an identity by doing that.
No.
It comes across as a clip show.
That's right. That's it exactly. Yes, that's it exactly.
But, I mean, their big event is next week. If you do look down the card at the matches and the talent on it, it has every reason to be a good match. Like good card in the ring.
Yeah, like the 6-way for the Impact X Division Championship. That match is going to be great with all those guys in there. You know, Sidal and Petey Williams, Sanjay Dutt, Trevor Lee. Like, that'll be great, you know. I am curious about the Moose Stephan Bonner versus Lashley King Mo match, just because that to me I think is the one angle that I do think was built up. It was pretty well. Like I think the vignettes the last couple of weeks, especially the one where Moose and Bonner went to the top team camp and smashed and stole all the titles. I thought, and then Lambert's promo last week was just amazing.
Yeah, I mean he was excellent.
He hit it out of the park.
Yeah, and then Colby Covington, who has been seen on Impact, is actually the UFC fighter who last night had the great promo about not liking being in Brazil. And,
filthy animals.
Yeah.
Called them filthy animals.
Got huge heat for that, so I really just think that, you know what, he's taking notes from his time at Impact right there. It's helping him in MMA. So with that in mind, all right, Ian from San Antonio, you're making this purchase next week and watching this pay-per-view?
Well, yes, I am, but I won't. Let me, just clarify. I will not defend this week's show because I thought the exact same thing that y'all did, which is that, it's just, I understand kind of the reason that it happened, which is probably that they had all these pre-recorded segments with Jeff Jarrett and Alberto Patron probably. Which now they can't use.
Yes.
And so I can't, hold it as much against him because people are going to be like, oh, well, you should have thought about that. But listen, the worst thing would have been to keep Jeff Jarrett in the company. They had to fire him because of his actions, so they can't help that. So I understand why it happened. Either way, though, it's still not a good look for the show. But overall, I'm excited for the card. It looks like a good one, top to bottom, even the main event. The best match Eli Drake has had as champion has been defending against, Johnny Impact.
Yeah, but what you just mentioned a curious name there because it has been declared Alberto El Patron will be back in the company as of Bound for Glory. Do you believe that he'll be thrown into a match or just come out there and cut a promo?
Well, before, everyone knows that he was supposed to wrestle Jarrett. Yeah. And but since, obviously they haven't said anything about it, I'd have to assume that they're probably, are just going to have him come out and do a promo, probably, maybe. And I'm excited for it. And, because, he's a good performer everywhere except for in the WWE where he was very bland and boring outside of his first, 6 or 7 months.
that wasn't his fault either, right?
No, it was not, exactly. And
but I can't see them adding another match. They've already got 8 matches for the card,
and
right?
The matches that they have are really good. And especially, let me just say, Dan Lambert's promo from a couple of weeks ago.
Last week. Brilliant.
Phenomenal, man. Let me tell you that, number one, hearing Rip Hawk's name on a
Yes.
So I was like, yeah, man,
Well, not only that, but actually having those belts, having that belt that Bruno had.
Then he insulted the crowd, and you know what? The thing is, I thought, because, there was one point where they started chanting, boring at him, and I was like, oh, here we go. This is probably going to get, because he was doing guts until that point. I was like, he's going to get thrown off by he's not used to hostile crowds like this,
No.
MMA crowds are a little more respectful, but nope. He kept on going. The only thing I think he did, one time was maybe repeat a line twice. But, it doesn't matter because it was so...
It was good. It had everything you want in a promo. It had intrigue. It had passion. It got you excited about the match.
He's small enough to be, if he wanted to, and he doesn't, and it probably is he's just living a dream right now, but he could be a good manager. He's a tiny enough guy.
Yeah. He'd be incredible for that. Thanks for the call, Ian. We got to go. My only critique of the Dan Lambert interview... Someone needed to tell him where the hard camera was.
Yes, unfortunately, that was a technical issue, but that's nothing to do with his actual performance. That's the producer's fault or whatever.
No, it's not. It's him not facing the hard camera.
Well, they got to tell him where it is.
They got to tell him.
See, then it's their fault. They didn't tell him.
Okay. All right. Or he just was not used to being in that environment. One of the two.
It's probably a bit of both.
All righty. Anyhow, good promo, and hopefully we see him on the mic at Bound for Glory.
Yes.
So it could be the best thing we see. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. Next hour, of course, Dave Meltzer kicks things off for us. And then Title Bout Trivia. Tonight will be a before and after Title Bout Trivia. So get ready for that. It's for a T-shirt from barbershopwindow.com. More details about Survivor Strikes and Mouth's interview with the one-man gang. That is all to come in our next hour. It's Live Audio Wrestling on TSN Radio.
If you want interviews with wrestling's hottest stars, behind-the-scenes news, and the most complete wrestling package on the World Wide Web, then you want The Law. No Holes Barred Wrestling Radio, coast to coast, with Dan the Mouth Lovranski and Jason Agnew. Daily updates from the Law's own John Pollock. Plus, uncut, unedited interviews with wrestling's hottest stars and greatest legends. LiveAudioWrestling.com. Log on today.
Dan the Mouth Lovranski here, and when I'm not watching wrestling, I love old cheesy movies. You know, the ones that are so bad they're good. That's why the Trash Palace is my favorite theater in Toronto. They show all these forgotten films from every genre. Monsters, maniacs, cowboys, samurais, cartoons, classroom films, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Now, if your film-going experience needs spicing up, you need to check out the Trash Palace. Every second Friday of the month at Cinecycle, 129 Spadina, just south of Queen and Spadina. For the full schedule, check out Trash Palace Toronto on Facebook.
It's time! It's time!
It's time for the Wrestling Observer Extra.
Wrestling Observer Extra. The moment you've all been waiting for. The undisputed, most diabolical villain in the world.
With Dave Meltzer, right here on The Law. Live Audio Wrestling.
Welcome back. Meltz is on the line. We are going to chat with him. However, next segment we will be doing Title Bout Trivia, as I was mentioning. 1-855-591-6876. Give JP some time to get you on the line. It is an awesome T-shirt from barbershopwindow.com. Your choice.
Yes.
Or anything from prowrestlingtees.com as well. So let's get two people on the line to play our fun before and after game next segment right here on The Law. But for this segment, we welcome on Dave Meltzer. And Dave, news broke on a Sunday, not a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Strangely enough, this morning we woke up and heard of the release of Emma, Darren Young, and Summer Rae. Now, I guess we can all agree that Darren Young and Summer Rae are not really surprises. Emma, though, considering the position that she was just put in the Asuka angle and having a lot of TV time, to me was a little bit surprising.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree with that. Didn't really expect that one. I would have probably expected it more about 8 weeks ago than now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because they really, for a while, they weren't doing any. For a long time, they weren't doing anything with her at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then they did the thing with Mickie James, and they, put her on TV, every week. But and I'm not really sure what the situation is. Obviously, when there's three, it's a budget thing and kind of like that. It's kind of like time and. There's, there's rumors of others, but no other names surfaced today. So,
well, these things usually kind of come in bunches, don't they, Dave? Right? Like usually when they kind of clean house like this.
Yeah, and it's usually more than three. It's usually 5 to 10.
Right, right. So it'll be interesting to see what else happens. I have to say with Emma, I think after they tried to do that gimmick with her with all the vignettes, and it never worked, and they just went back to what she did. After that, I kind of thought her time was probably limited.
Yeah, well, they did give up on her. Mm-hmm. You never know because some people just kind of like stay there forever and just don't ever get cut. But they never do anything with them. And there's several people on the roster where you sort of can see that they're never probably going to do anything with them. And I mean, I was surprised that they even did that program with Mickie James with her. With Asuka, it was obviously just someone to put over Asuka. But when you look back on those two matches on Sunday and Monday, and then they were going to cut her, it's like now I'm completely baffled by the way they worked those matches.
We talked about that earlier in the show.
Yeah.
We had that exact conversation. Like, well, why didn't she just become a jobber for 2 matches?
Yeah, why didn't they just do the matches in 2 and 3 minutes and just have her blitz her? Because that's what everybody wanted to see anyway.
It is true. It is, and it would have done leaps and bounds better for Asuka.
Yes.
Because,
Yes.
Dave, I mean, in my opinion, looking, we talked about it last Sunday, and then we saw it again on Monday. Asuka has already been made into a very average character.
Absolutely. The bloom was already off the road. She's just another woman on the roster. I mean, it was really interesting when, Edge and Christian did their podcast, apparently, and, they've never seen her. Well, I mean, Edge may have seen her in NXT. Christian, I think, never had. And they're just going like, well, what's the big deal about her? And the funny thing is, as you and I both know, as all of us know, like, she's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
But they booked it in a way, where she just looks like another woman.
Yep.
Yeah, very sad. Looking ahead to Survivor Series, we've spent the majority of the show talking about the invasion angle, but in regards to the main event, Paul running down Jinder this week, and the rumor of that match, possibility of a guest ref, is there Austin, Cena, Rock we've talked about. Are they leaning towards one of these three?
I haven't heard any more than that, other than I think Cena's probably the one that makes the most sense.
Yes.
I think it comes down to schedule, among other things. I mean, Rock, I'm sure, would be the one they would want, but anything to do with Rock would be something that they would want. But I don't know what the schedule's like. But Cena makes sense in the sense that usually when you do something like that, it can segue to
a program
referee against whoever loses the match,
right?
And Cena and Jinder, has certainly been talked about for WrestleMania, and the rumors are already out for WrestleMania. So that one makes sense. I don't think that there's ever going to be. I don't believe they'll do Rock and Jinder, and I know they won't do Austin and Jinder. So those, Austin coming back would certainly be a pop. I mean, without a doubt, but it doesn't lead anywhere, whereas Cena at least leads somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's it. Plus, with Cena, you have that dynamic that he's on both brands, so you have the kind of tease of which way will he go as referee, right?
Right, and also the other thing is, with all of them, there's the intrigue of them being in the ring with Brock Lesnar. In the sense of, obviously everybody always wanted the Lesnar-Austin match that never happened and never will happen. But you put them in, he's in there as a referee, and I know he was in there as a referee with the Goldberg Brock Lesnar match, but that was also 13 years ago.
Right.
So,
yes, long time ago.
Yeah, long time ago.
Dave, just because we saw Angle last week in the ring, and obviously his medicals and stuff had been worked out for them to put him in so quick, are we going to see him end up captaining one of the teams here? Is he going to captain Team Raw, and we see Shane captain the SmackDown team?
I think that's certainly a possibility. I just thought that with Angle, that his first match back, I don't know. I mean, we saw the thing. I just thought they were going to do a bigger program. Not that this isn't a big program, but it doesn't feel as big as I would have wanted.
I think, program. But it's tough to do it that now because they just had to throw him in last weekend, right? Like any kind of big build is kind of out the window now.
Yeah. I mean, it's a possibility. Certainly, yeah.
Let's flip over to the world of Impact, and I say that by now mentioning Don Callis. Don Callis, there's some rumors about him leaving New Japan, and Impact popped up. What is the story with Don Callis?
Well, he's insistent he's not leaving New Japan, that he's not going to be at Bound for Glory, that he's going to be in Osaka for Power Struggle on Sunday, and you can't do both. I mean, if he's going to Osaka, he's definitely not doing Bound for Glory. Now, they do have several days of TV after. He said that he will not be at those TVs. But he says he's with New Japan, and as far as the Impact goes, he didn't really say anything much about that. There is definitely something going on there. I mean, it would not shock me to see him there, but Bound for Glory, I mean, if you take him for his word, Bound for Glory is not even a chance. So that's what he says. But, he said he's with New Japan for whatever, for as long as they want him. The way the schedules work out, he can do, the way Impact does tapings, he can do Impact TV and probably miss no significant New Japan shows anyway. So he could do both.
And Don Callis is Canadian and can actually get into Canada, unlike some people on the former Impact roster. So in regards to Bound for Glory next week, we just did a quick preview of it. Any surprises that have popped up that we can expect, do you think?
Just Sami Callihan, and I'm not sure he's Bound for Glory, but that's the only name. The names that have come out, I mean, he's the one name that I have heard is
OVE?
coming in. Yeah.
Ed, any chance of Dan Lambert being there, Dave? Because that promo he did last week was friggin' fantastic.
I believe that Dan Lambert's going to be there, yeah. I mean, I know Dan Lambert is coming for television. I don't know, like, what days, and maybe every day.
Right.
But, yeah, Dan Lambert is for sure. I don't know who else from ATT is coming. Colby Covington probably should now.
Yes, exactly. Yes. There's a segue if I ever heard it.
Yeah, we'll go right there. UFC last night, Colby Covington, who is actually he was on Impact just as one of the guys, fought last night, defeated Damian Maia, and, I mean, that was one stage of it, but the promo he cut afterwards, it's actually a very interesting situation because this has made everyone in the industry know who Colby Covington is.
Absolutely.
However, it's been said by the UFC that they disagree with what he's done here. But ultimately, it's going to make him a star.
Yes.
It already has.
I think it's made him a star. Everyone's, a lot of people are talking about him.
Yep.
The thing is that's so weird, okay? When he did the promo, it was like, wow. I mean, this is all the way pro wrestling heel promo, right? From the old days.
Yeah, like from the 70s, yeah.
Are you kidding? It's from Dan Lambert.
Well, he got it from obviously he's been watching these pro wrestlers
Yeah.
doing it better than they do. But the thing is that, you know, like everybody got all mad about it, but it's like, I don't see, and maybe I'm missing something. What's the difference between what he did and what Chael Sonnen did and what Conor McGregor did?
Exactly.
Other than they were much bigger stars than him.
Yep.
But I mean, you know, Chael, you know, couldn't have been more anti-Brazilian, and McGregor wasn't so much anti-Brazilian as much as anti-Aldo, but it still was a lot of negative about Brazil. But, you know, I mean, really what Chael said and what Covington said were very, very similar.
And you now have Tyron Woodley tweeting back at him, but this has got to be Tyron Woodley also playing the game here, because there's a guy who's always had problems drawing a buy rate. Now he's got himself a heel, and he can play babyface here.
And they have a past, and which they both brought up on Twitter, you know, because they're both ATT guys and they've trained together, and each claims that they got the better of the training. So you've got, you know, you definitely have a personal feud, which, you know, obviously UFC's really lacked these personal feuds in the last couple months.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
What I really enjoyed about Covington is as he cut this promo, Daniel Cormier standing beside him and being the happiest man on that show.
Yeah, he was so funny. Yeah, he was funny.
It was just nice to see Daniel Cormier happy.
Yep. Yes.
That's all.
Daniel Cormier was tremendous last night, just because he's so enthusiastic.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I miss Brian Stan because I learned so much from Brian Stan, but Daniel Cormier, just like you watch it, and he just makes you happy to be watching it.
Yeah, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Next week, it is UFC 217. It is probably the biggest UFC pay-per-view of the year. It's 3 years in the making. Georges St. Pierre's return versus Michael Bisping.
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
To me, though, this is not. I don't feel it, Dave. Do you feel it in your circles?
Man, I don't. And
Okay.
I'm surprised because when the fight was first announced, remember they did that the first press conference. I thought, man, this is going to be a big one.
Yeah.
And you know, like Bisping will talk big, which he has. George will be George, which he has. And you know, again, a lot of the times when it comes to these, you really don't feel it till Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of George fights a week out, I'm going like, man, I don't feel it. But then the week of the show, you know, it just explodes. And Bisping will talk a lot this week, so I think it does have the chance to do that. I think that there's a lot of, I think people have forgotten how good George is, and if they haven't, I think that they're skeptical that George is still around because it's been 4 years and he's 4 years older, and we've seen so many guys go through long layoffs, and with the exception of Dominic Cruz, most of the time when they come back, they're not the same guy. And there's that fear of this guy who was so great, and now he's going to come back and he's going to be ordinary. And I think if George comes in there and has a spectacular performance, I think that will make him a giant star again. But I think that I think everyone's sitting there kind of on the fence going like, I don't know if this is going to be the same George.
It really is strange, especially up here in Canada, Dave. It really hasn't got the attention in the media like I would have expected. But again, like you say, this week will tell the tale, and hopefully by midweek we'll be hearing a lot more about it.
It is Madison Square Garden, so that's a good place to get a lot of media at the end.
Who do you favor?
You know, it's impossible to say because of that, because we don't know. We know what Bisping is. We have no idea what George is. I mean, I guess I'm favoring Bisping just because I know that he's been fighting for 4 years, and with George, so much of George is speed and timing, and a 4-year layoff is going to affect your timing, and age and the added weight is going to affect your speed. I keep thinking of when McGregor tried to fight at 170. He got tired, and he wasn't as good of a fighter. I worry about George. I mean, George has never fought above 170 before. Now he's fighting at 185. And I remember the Jake Shields fight, and I know that there was, the thing with the Jake Shields fight in Toronto, even though he won that fight, it was a sluggish fight because George was 5 pounds heavier, as far as regular body weight than he had been for the other fights. And this now we're talking about he's probably going to be 10, 15 pounds heavier. And I just wonder that what makes George great may be compromised by that added body weight, whether it's muscle or not. I mean, his best, and the timing of, when it comes to the wrestling, you're in there. You lose your timing in wrestling when you're not wrestling, and wrestling was his greatest, attribute in the game.
Dave, one more thing just before we go here to flip back over to the world of pro wrestling. News that did break this week was Jeff Jarrett has checked into rehab, and the WWE is paying for it. That is just a blanket policy that must have, but if there was one person I thought they might make an exception for, it would be Jeff Jarrett, just considering how poorly this relationship ended.
Yeah, but they send letters, they're form letters to everyone who's under contract that, if you need help, that they will help. And they, checked with WWE. Look, Jeff and his wife and everyone, they recognized there was a problem. Maybe they should have recognized earlier. Yep. Probably should have.
Yes.
But the fact is at least they did, and hopefully, Jeff's a charming guy. I mean, you can say good and bad about him. Obviously, he's been around wrestling for a lot of years and all that, but you don't want the Jeff Jarrett that you at least heard about last weekend. I mean, that was not a very pleasant thing to hear.
No, it was kind of scary, actually.
Yeah.
All right, Dave, we're going to wrap up for this week, but we'll be chatting with you after Bound for Glory next week right here in the show. What's coming up in the Observer?
Hall of Fame?
Well, we're going to cover the WWE business, obviously, all the stuff that came out this week. And as far as other stuff, I think I'm going to have a story on Stan Kowalski, who passed away last week, the BK. And just whatever happens the next couple of days, the build for whatever the build is for Bound for Glory, Power Struggle. Kenny Omega's going to face Trent Beretta, looks like, on Sunday. Whatever happens with Don Callis and everything else,
All right. Sounds good. We will chat with you next week at this time. Dave, thank you very much.
Okay, have a great week.
WrestlingObserver.com is where you can find all of his work. We got to take a break. Come on back. Title Bud Trivia time. We got Dave who's going to play, and I need another opponent. Give us a call, 1-855-591-6876. It's The Law, live audio wrestling.
This is The Law.
For the wrestling fans in Canada and all over the world tonight.
On TSN Radio.
It's time for everyone's favorite game show. All I do is win, 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 no matter what.
Go one-on-one and get it done. This is live audio wrestling's Title Bout Trivia.
Everybody hands go up.
Right through the glass window of the barber shop.
And they stay there.
Title Bout Trivia time right here on The Law. All right, as we said, we're playing before and after. Going to try to get as many questions in as possible. We got two players on the line. Dave from Orlando, as I said, is player one. Hi, Dave.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. You're going to play against Joe from Chicago. Hi, Joe.
How you doing, fellas?
Good, good. Sorry about the Cubs. All righty. Here's how the game is played, guys, before and after. So if I were to say to you, Edge and Randy Orton star in a remake of a 2000 Coen Brothers film, the answer would be Rated RKO and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? So it would be Rated RK, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? We've played this game on the show many a time. Steals are in play, gentlemen. So please be paying attention to the other person's questions as well. Dave, first question is for you. Here we go. An appropriate faction name for Brutus Beefcake, Greg Valentine, Kane, and Daniel Bryan. An appropriate faction name for Brutus Beefcake, Greg Valentine, Kane, and Daniel Bryan. Dave.
Dream Team Hell No.
That is correct. Very good, Dave. Point for you. All right, Joe, over to you. Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev are team leaders at the next NXT pay-per-view event. Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev are team leaders at the next NXT pay-per-view event.
Is it the Undisputed Russian Powers?
Incorrect. The correct. Oh, I'm not going to say it because, Dave, you can steal.
No, I don't know.
It would be Cold War Games. The two leaders from the Cold War plus War Games. No point there. Dave, back to you. Inspired by Bram Stoker, Shane Helms, Shannon Moore, and Evan Courageous dress up as vampires. Inspired by Bram Stoker, Shane Helms, Shannon Moore, and Evan Courageous.
That's a good one.
Dress up as vampires. Dave.
3 Count Dracula.
That is correct. 3 Count Dracula.
That's a good one. I like that one.
All right, Joe, over to you. WWE and Impact Wrestling put on a combined pay-per-view using the names of their respective August and June pay-per-view events. WWE and Impact Wrestling put on a combined pay-per-view using the names of their respective August and June pay-per-view events? Any guess,
Would
Joe?
that be Glory Roadblock?
Incorrect. Dave for the steal.
I think I know what it is.
No, I don't know.
Summer Slammiversary is the correct answer for that one. All right, final questions for the two of you. Dave, over to you. The father of WWE's Viper takes on a new persona complemented by a classic Glenn Campbell theme song. So the father of WWE's Viper takes on a new persona complemented by a classic Glenn Campbell theme song. Dave.
Rhinestone Cowboy, Bob Orton.
That is correct,
Yes,
Dave. You
yes,
got it.
yes.
Very good. And actually, mathematically, Joe, you cannot catch up at this point because this would be your final question. I'm going to save it for next week. Dave has 3. He's got the win. Joe, thank you very much for playing the game. Dave, hold on the line, and I will speak to you at the break. While we have a couple minutes here, I'm just going to get into... Oh, by the way, of course, Dave has won a T-shirt from barbershopwindow.com. Survivor Series is coming up, and along with that, Survivor Strikes is coming up as well. It is an event that all of us from the law will be at. I'm saying that not knowing about Way and John, but Mel said he's going to be there.
Yes,
Braden's
I love going to the wrestling-themed ones. They're always lots of fun.
Yeah, so this is a show that we're putting on here. I'm hosting here at Comedy Bar in Toronto. It's happening November the 17th at 10:30 p.m. And as I announced last week on the show, Santino Marella is going to be playing Anthony Corelli, who is, of course, the host of Aftermath here now. With Nugnar Gang will be on the show as well. But he will be captaining a team for an entire show. And we're going to do a dual team format that involves elimination down to when 2 people are left. And then we spread 50 mouse traps out on the stage. They take off their shoes, and we put blindfolds on them, and we make them play a scene on the mouse traps. I like to say this show is like Whose Line Is It Anyway meets Fear Factor. But the fact that Anthony is willing to play the whole show is really cool.
That'll be fun.
He's super excited. Yeah. I can tell you right now, for those of you who have been to the show before, the team captain of the other team will be the owner of Comedy Bar, Gary Rideout Jr.
A.K.A. John Cena Jr.
That's right.
He loves Cena.
The fans turned on him last time and threw him out of the show first.
That's right. He got tossed out right away.
Immediately.
That's right. That's right.
He's out for revenge. He's playing against Santino's team. If you would like to get tickets for it, you can look at jasonagnew.com. Tickets are already on sale. I just tweeted out links to the Facebook page at Law Radio on Twitter. Find it there. Back with the interview with One Man Gang next, right here on The Law.
May I have your attention, please?
Looking for a movie to watch tonight?
First rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club.
Tune into Game TV for hit movies every night.
That is so fat.
Whether you're in the mood to laugh, cry, or just be entertained.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Game TV has it all. And the best part is, Game TV is already included in most cable TV packages.
This is the funnest night ever.
Channel 73 on Rogers, 274 on Bell, and 1624 on 5. Movie night is every night on Game TV.
You're listening to Live Audio Wrestling.
And might I add, in clear violation of the law.
On TSN Radio.
Welcome back, Live Audio Wrestling. Well into hour 2 here in Mouth. You ventured out and got a whole group of interviews, and we're starting off with this one here. Someone we've never had on the show before.
Never. Yes, never. And always one of my favorites from the 80s as well. The One Man Gang, George Gray. He was at the Hamilton Comic-Con about a month ago, and yeah, we had to sit down and chat. It was great talking to him. He was a great guy, because you never know, right? You just never know, right? It could be interviews over, right?
It could be Ric Flair.
You just never know. He was great, and we had an excellent conversation.
And funny, because this was in Hamilton, and he would have been in the original Royal Rumble and the second to last man in.
Do we?
All right.
All about that,
all right, well,
Jay.
then let's get to it. The Mouth.
All about that.
And a one-man gang right here on The Law.
This is one guy. I've never talked to him before. I'm super excited. The one-man gang is here with me today at the Hamilton Comic-Con. Gang, how you doing, man? You're looking great.
Hey, thanks. I'm doing great. Nice to be here in Hamilton, Ontario. This is the first time I've crossed the border since the Royal Rumble 30 years ago.
You're kidding.
Probably.
No, you must have wrestled in Hamilton after that.
I'm sure I did, but since I left the WWF in 1990, it's the first time I've come over here.
Yeah. Now let's talk a little bit about that first Royal Rumble, because you were the last guy in there with Jim Duggan, and then he ends up winning. What did you? Now I heard that they also did an early version of the Royal Rumble the year before where you won it. Is that true?
Well, that's, I have been told that. I have no memory of that at all, but I've been told they did a pre-trial run before this one in Hamilton, and I won it. But I guess officially they consider Hamilton as the first real, Royal Rumble before the pay-per-view Royal Rumbles, and yeah, myself and Hacksaw Jim Duggan were the last two, and Duggan pulled the top rope on me, and I flew over the top and hit the floor, and he wins the first real Royal Rumble,
Yeah. What did you think of the actual idea of the Royal Rumble when they presented it to you? Because it was like a Battle Royal, but different with the guys coming in one at a time.
Right, exactly. I was, we was just talking about that over there. Pat Patterson invented it, so, for years it always been Battle Royals, so, yeah, to me it was totally different because the anticipation every 2 minutes, who's coming out next, or whatever. So, I thought it was a great event. It's still going on today for the pay-per-view. So, but at the time, I guess, when you're actually doing it, you don't think of it that way. Sure. You're just doing the event. You don't think, 20, 30 years from now, how big it will be. So at the time, it was just another night at work for me. You get your number, get what you got, whatever you got to do to get the match finished and fixed up, So I was, I feel privileged that I can actually say I was in the, first actual Royal Rumble, and I was next to the last. I didn't win it, but next to the last is pretty darn good.
That's very good. That's for sure. Absolutely. Now let's talk a little bit about the one-man gang gimmick, because again, as a youngster, I was fascinated by it. I thought, wow, here's a guy so big that he's literally a gang unto himself. Did you come up with the idea, promoter? Where did it come from?
Well, it came from when I was in Mid-South, Cowboy Bill Watts. They had done quite a few vignettes of me coming in from another territory of just squashing their top guys. I just do a run-in. I wasn't on the card. I just run in and squash Dusty Rhodes, Dick Murdoch, DiBiase, Ted DiBiase, whoever it happened to be. And they would stretcher them out on the stretcher, and they filmed all this. And they put the film together. When I first came into Mid-South, I didn't even have a name. I didn't really have a name. And then they showed a little vignette of all this, and just out of the blue, Bill Watts was like, well, he's a one-man gang, and from then on, as Skandor Akbar, my manager, kind of took it over, and they just started calling me one-man gang, and from there on, it just stuck, that's what it was from then. Thank goodness, right?
Definitely. Yeah, no, it was a great gimmick. I thought it was fantastic. Talk a little bit about Bill Watts, because he's one of those guys that is considered a very innovative promoter, and you were talking a bit in the panel, but I'd like some more of your thoughts on Bill Watts.
Well, that's basically, that's what he was. He was an innovator. Look how many, top WWF stars that came from that era. Jake the Snake, Ted DiBiase, Hacksaw Duggan, Butch Reed. So many guys came from that, from Mid-South area, But, you had to be a different type person to, work there. Like I said, travel was horrendous. I loved it because I was a youngster. It was, I was getting paid to do what I wanted to do, right? Traveling those roads and seeing sights and stuff I'd never seen was great for me. And getting to, be in these big-time matches, 20 years old. My first Superdome show, I teamed up with Harley Race against Andre the Giant and Dick Murdoch. You know what I'm saying? I'm 20 years old.
You're in there with legends.
That's what I'm saying, exactly, right? These are guys I grew up watching, being big fans of and stuff. So, luckily I was able to survive in that area, with the style they had. They had that rough I guess now they used to call it strong style.
Yes.
So, I was able to survive. It kind of fit me, and these guys, Duggan and whoever, was the same way, that same style, because that's what Bill demanded of us, so I was lucky to survive that. But, I made it through there and moved on to other territories, and thanks to Bill Watts, he always took care of me. Like if I was in a 3 or 4 week hiatus between territories, or say I had a week before going to Japan, he'd always bring me back in, just as a one-man gang in a bounty match or stuff like that, just because I could get some paydays. I already had the name in the territory. He didn't really have to get me over on TV because I'd already been there.
Sure.
So he'd bring me back for a couple of weeks just for special events and stuff, So
nice.
He always took care of me, and got me. He once I left there, he got me into Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, which was...
That's where I first saw you, because Mid-Atlantic was the promotion up here in Toronto before Vince did the expansion. That's the first time I saw you on TV was Mid-Atlantic.
We used to come up to Toronto and do the Maple Leaf Gardens.
That's right.
Yeah, I went to Mid-Atlantic, which was great for me because I'm from Spartanburg, South Carolina, and that's Mid-Atlantic territory, So when I went to Mid-Atlantic, it was like going home. I was like, wow, this is the greatest thing ever to work under the Mid-Atlantic banner, because I watched that growing up my whole life, But other than that, then I worked, I went from territory to territory. I was a big territory man.
Right.
Until I went to WWF,
And what did you think when Vince McMahon did the big expansion and that and decided to just forget about the territory boundaries and just take over the whole country?
I really wouldn't even, I didn't even really know what was happening. I was so doing what I was doing, and working every night, doing shows and stuff. I didn't really keep up with what was going on around me, if you understand that. I really didn't understand that he was taking talent and doing this. And even when they got in touch with me to come to the WWF, I still didn't even understand how big it was. To me, it was just another place to work. To me, it didn't hit me that, wow, this is WWF, and he's calling me to want to come up there and work. It didn't hit me that way, So even when I got there, I was like, no, it's
Whatever, right? Yeah, I'm just more work. That's it.
It's just another payday for me, Even when we went, you go to WrestleMania. Now it's such a huge thing. Back then, it just, it was WrestleMania, but I'd already been in a lot of big shows, I'd done Superdomes. I'd done stadiums in Florida with Dusty and the Carolinas, all over, and stadiums and stuff. So, when I went to the WrestleManias, it was exactly, pretty much.
Yeah.
It was just another day of work, Next day you get on the plane and go to another city,
Now, we have to talk about the WWF. We have to talk about Akeem, because I thought Akeem was one of the best heel gimmicks ever. Here's a big white guy pretending to be a black guy with a black manager and claiming he's from Africa. I thought it was brilliant.
Well,
what did you think when they brought it to you?
Obviously, I hated it.
Yeah.
I thought this was what they just trying to get me mad, so I'll quit or something.
Really? That's
of course. I hate it. What if you switch roles? You're the wrestler. You're a one-man gang. You know what I'm saying? Hey, man, we got this great gimmick. We're gonna make you a black man. What would you think?
I'm sure at first you're going to be like, what?
Exactly. Well, that's basically what happened. Of course, it was Vince McMahon idea. He just told me that I feel the one-man gang don't have not colorful enough, because I was just black and white.
Yep.
I want to give you something, obviously wanted another character. And he was real colorful and whatever, so he could sell figures and whatever else, but that's what it was. I just took it. I said, man, what am I going to do? I just got to make the best of it. And that first night I went out to do it on TV, I was nervous as all. I'd never got nervous before, but switching characters,
whole new character too.
Whole new character, because one man gang was just a big bad heel and beat people up.
Yeah.
Akeem had to have a little soul or whatever, So I said, man, I don't know. And I told myself, just make a fool of yourself. Just do the craziest thing things you can think of, So I went out. As soon as the curtains opened, I started moving. I started just moving my hands and doing, just crazy, and it stuck, from then on. So I went out. I was kind of lipping, syncing with the song or whatever. Then when I come back through the curtains, everybody was clapping and all that, and he gave me a thumbs up. So I knew.
There you go. Now there was always the rumor that it was partially a rib on Dusty Rhodes, that character. Is there any truth to that?
I don't think it was. You got to remember, Dusty actually came into the WWF also, and him and I worked against each other. We'd have dance-offs and stuff. So how is that a rib? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They put him in polka dots.
That's a bit of a rib on its own.
But he made it work.
He did.
He made it. That's what I'm saying. If you get a gimmick, if you want to keep a job, you got to make it work. Like people always mention, Terry Taylor, they made into the Red Rooster. Now, if he would have took it and really run with it, I believe it would have worked. He didn't want to go out there to be a Red Rooster. Heck, if it had been me, I'd been strutting around, yeah, I'm a rooster, baby. I'm the, what I'm saying? A rooster's like the top thing, right? So if you get a gimmick, you better make the best of it. If not, you ain't gonna have a job,
Well, and that's a great attitude to have in pro wrestling, right? Because a lot of guys would get upset about it, and you just went with it.
Yeah, I knew I couldn't dance. I'm not out there like Slick actually had some good moves. I can't dance, so I just make a fool of myself, That's what I wanted to do. Yeah, I'll do something. It's just people's all, and then the fans started doing the little hands, and all that. So
amazing.
Me and Slick talk. They could have switched me babyface down, but they switched Boss Man for whatever reason. But
now you mentioned Slick. Give us some insight into Slick. I always thought Slick was one of the best managers. Really great character.
Great character. Good on the microphone. Good at at ringside and everything else. But he was never like in the echelon of a Bobby Heenan or Jimmy Hart, those type managers. He never really got to manage any champions. I guess I don't want to say we were like the lower guys, but that's just the way it was. I joke with Slick now and say, man, when I got to the WWF, I thought when they said we're going to manager called Slick, we're going to put you with Slick. And I said, I looked at you and go, man, I thought I was going to get with Bobby Heenan or somebody. I knew I'd be a champion. I told Slick, I ain't never going to be a champion with this guy.
There you have it. The one-man gang, and Akeem has now been on the law. He did not like Akeem, Mo.
No, well, I don't imagine he would have liked it,
You did. You seemed to enjoy it.
I just thought, like I said to him, I thought it was a great. To me, it's a heel personified, doing something so outrageous like that.
All right, we're going to take a break, come back, wrap up the show, and along with that feedback, we got a caller on the line, and if you'd like to get on the line as well, they're open, 1-855-591-6876. It's The Law, and more after this.
On your knees, dog. You deserve the complete package. You deserve A+. You deserve
The Law.
Bow down to the game.
On TSN Radio.
Just when they think they got the answers.
Bound for Glory next week, or the baseball game that just finished.
Oh, geez, no question. The game that just finished was incredible. We've been following it. We were listening to it on the drive up here.
I started watching at 8 o'clock.
We put it on the TV here. Absolutely fascinating. Absolutely amazing. I was curious to you if you know the record. For how long? How long has a World Series game gone before? Because that was like 5 hours.
Yeah, that was a long, long game. And no one left the stadium. Absolutely incredible. All righty. Let's go to the phones here. Kurt's on the line from Grand Rapids and wants to chat. Hi, Kurt.
Hey, hello. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm curious who won the game. I've been on the line.
Oh, Houston pulled it off.
Yep, Houston 13 to 12.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Screw the Dodgers. But anyway, I'm concerned about Finn Balor.
Okay.
All right. So his mouth.
Yeah.
The only way I think they can salvage this is doing a demon versus demon match.
That's what I was saying earlier in the show, Kurt. Yeah.
I missed that. I missed the first half hour of the show.
So what I threw out there, because Mouth was very upset about this, and in actuality, I was joking. I agree. It was really stupid because they've negated the win that Balor got over AJ the night before by having him lose to Kane the next day. Kane is very much an expired, tired character that is just there to be a monster. He's kind of like what Haku was in WCW, where he's being brought out to be a monster. But the only thing is Balor beat AJ as the Demon. Balor lost to Kane as Balor. If you have Demon Kane versus the Demon King, there you have it. But I hope they remember that after Kane is defeated by Strowman, which once he's uncompacted and shows up again,
he gets out of that garbage
where
truck.
I feel like they're going is with Kane versus Strowman and not Kane versus Finn, and that.
Oh no, that
scares me.
Yeah, that is definitely where they're going. But like Jay says, hoping they'll come back to Finn after they're done with Strowman. I don't know.
All right, gentlemen.
Thanks for the call,
But see,
Kurt.
that actually would work well, and then you have Finn get the big win over Kane, and then you could start to have him working with Brock or working in that direction or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do. And I can't remember. There was a little bit of controversy in regards to what the WWE pay-per-view is in December. Is it a Raw or is it a SmackDown?
I think it's a Raw.
If it's a Raw, then that actually works out perfectly. If you're going to... I actually think it's going to be awkward if they do Strowman and Kane on Survivor Series, simply because every other match is going to be a brand versus brand.
Well, I don't think they will.
So you don't think they're going to do anything like that? So when does that
That's
one happen?
why I think they put Kane on the team, because you can tease that dissension and it comes out of the match. It build and then we see that feud come out of develop, I guess, more in the Survivor Series match, and then
what you mean, Balor?
No, with Kane and Strowman. No, that's what I'm talking. That's why I said earlier of having Kane on the team.
Oh, and then Strowman shows up there and takes out Kane?
Or something along those lines, right? Yeah, exactly.
So you wait for the return. Yeah, you could do something like that if you do put Kane on the team.
I can't see them not using him on the team just because they brought him back to this big fanfare and stuff.
Yeah.
I kind of think they're going to put him on the team,
which is unfortunate because I'd rather have Finn on that team, just for work rate.
Yes.
I forget who. Someone just tweeted into me and actually said, with my Bound for Glory predictions... sorry, not my Bound for Glory predictions. With my Survivor Series predictions, I had Samoa Joe, Bobby Roode, and AJ Styles all in this match, who are all in a main event of a WWE pay-per-view right around Bound for Glory time.
Yeah.
That is truly the glory they were bound for, Mouth.
That's what they were talking about?
Yeah, that's what they were talking about.
Now we know.
Yeah.
Now we know.
Quickly, here's a couple of feedback. It's lawradio.proboards.com. Do you think the 5-on-5 match could be a War Games match with the double ring cage set up for TakeOver?
Well, no, because they're doing it at TakeOver. They wouldn't do it on both.
I think they're testing it at TakeOver, and I think maybe that just becomes a gimmick for NXT. I don't know if it'll roll over into WWE.
We'll have to see how it goes. It's a tough match to pull off. We'll have to see. It didn't always work in WCW, that's for sure.
And then there's something we didn't touch on here. Leo Rush ended up tweeting out something earlier today when he learned of Emma being released and said something about, this is truly what can happen when you face the power of Oscar or something like that. He has huge heat now.
He got attacked by a lot of people, and not just current people on the roster.
All over. So he has huge heat in WWE right now, and he is just starting. This was not a smart.
At least he quickly
tweet.
put out.
He did.
He did quickly put out an apology, though. So he did fix it up. But yeah, you got to watch that Twitter, wrestlers. Yeah. Stay away from Twitter.
Hey, my goodness. All right, we are going to be here next week. It'll be Mouth. It'll be myself. John Pollock will be in studio as well, because John's coming in to chat the UFC the night before and chatting Bound for Glory with us as well.
We're making him sit through Bound for Glory. You're mean.
He asked me.
Really?
He did. He's a dedicated journalist.
He is.
I'm not going to be here. No, I'm kidding. I will be here next week. All right, we're out of here. We'll talk to you next Sunday night. Don't you dare miss it.
Brother.